Single mother's amazing newborn photo exposed CEO's surprising question, is this my child? Jessica's heart lurched as she stood in the cozy cafe, wall-to-wall with familiar faces, her framed photographs of newborn Mia displayed for all to see. The vibrant, candid shots captured her daughter's tiny fingers, sleepy smiles, and moments of joy that made her whole world spin. The special afternoon was meant to be a celebration of her passion for photography, but it took a sharp turn when Lucas, the new CEO with an easy smile and strong presence, wandered into her line of sight. Their eyes met, and despite their contrasting worlds, an invisible thread pulled them closer. The rainy afternoon cocooned them in warmth as they exchanged casual pleasantries. She found herself laughing, feeling light for the first time in ages, but an uneasy flutter settled in her gut. The shadows of her past loomed large. Memories of the man who had been so much to her yet now felt like a ghost crept into her thoughts. Every compliment Lucas offered her photos only deepened the tension within her. What if he figures it out? What if he recognizes Mia? Dread twisted in her chest, threatening to overshadow the joy of discovery. Your work is stunning, Lucas remarked, leaning in with genuine admiration that sent an odd mix of confusion and warmth rippling through her. Yet, when his gaze landed on one particular photograph, Mia, swaddled in a knitted blanket, eyes wide in wonder, his expression changed, darkening as if he'd just connected the dots. Is this my child? Panic clutched at Jessica's throat. Her breath quickened, the cafe noise fading as reality collapsed around her. Just moments ago, she saw a potential friend, a connection that sparked hope for a brighter future. And now? Now she was terrified. The very foundation of her life felt compromised. Would this handsome stranger unravel her carefully stitched reality? How could she protect Mia from the echoes of her past, especially if this man held the missing piece? Vivid images of a time blurred with reckless choices flooded her mind. Before she could speak, she spotted the curious eyes of patrons drawn in, their faces a mixture of intrigue and concern. What would they think? She managed a smile as her heart raced, trying to maintain composure. No, she mumbled, her voice cracking ever so slightly, a pit forming in her stomach. She's my daughter. But the tremble in her voice whispered otherwise. How could she be so sure? Look, I know this sounds strange, Lucas began, his brow furrowing as he weathered the weight of uncertainty. He stepped closer, as if magnetized by the photograph, by the child that bore a striking resemblance to him, a mix of curiosity and responsibility battling within his gaze. The tension crackled like electricity. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jessica, can you just? His uncertainty mirrored her own, the stakes rising as they regarded each other like two fighters in a ring, boxing with unfiltered truths. The words hovered, heavy in the air. How on earth could she reveal the complexity of their past without tearing her life apart? Desperation clawed at her insides, knowing that she had built up walls around her life just to keep Mia safe. With each breath, the reality sank deeper, she was on the brink of losing everything. Would Lucas's answer shatter her fragile world? She struggled to maintain an even breath, electric needs surging between them, blurring the lines of their divergent lives. The cafe faded into background noise, her own internal monologue intensifying. Could this connection redefine what family meant, or would it leave them both fractured in the wake of the truth? As Lucas stared into her eyes, caught in the tempest of their lives, the inevitable remained unspoken, heavy as a storm cloud. What did it mean to be a parent? And could the both of them face the storm brewing in the distance, or would the truth pull them apart forever? Jessica's mind raced as she faced Lucas, each second dragging like an eternity while the atmosphere crackled with tension. She willed herself to breathe, the air thick with unspoken challenges and fleeting hope. How could she possibly navigate this moment? The weight of her past threatened to crush her resolve as each patron's gaze felt like prying eyes. Their whispered speculations tightened around her like a noose. The vulnerability was unbearable. Every instinct urged her to retreat, to grab Mia and escape before Lucas could delve deeper. But amidst the chaos, a simmering determination began to awaken, a voice within her, fierce and resolute, that demanded she not allow fear to dictate her actions. "Lucas, please don't jump to conclusions," she said, summoning every ounce of composure. The softness of her voice belied the storm waging within her. "You don't know anything about me, or about Mia. She's just a little girl." "Yet she looks like me," he countered, his blue eyes piercing. "What am I supposed to think?" She watched him closely, wrestling with the turmoil rising in her chest. Was it guilt, realization, or the deep-rooted fear of exposure? She had carefully crafted this life, her small but cozy apartment, her thriving photography business, and her daughter's bright and joyful essence. They made up the world she had fought so hard to build fresh from the ashes of her past mistakes. "Look," she said, her voice steadier now, "you're powerful and successful, and I am just a mom trying to raise my daughter. This isn't about you or me. It's about Mia. She deserves to grow up free from this kind of drama." It was an attempt at deflection, but inside she wondered, was this truly only about Mia? In that pivotal flash of clarity, a distinctly human thought ignited. Had she underestimated Lucas? He might be inextricably linked to her past, but the glint of painful memories faded momentarily as she looked into his eyes. What if, beyond this complexity, he could bring something invaluable to Mia's life? Jessica knew she had a talent for seeing potential in others. Perhaps the truths within them could be simultaneously disarming and empowering. But tying her own hopes to Lucas felt like precarious gambling at the moment. "Jessica, listen," he implored, stepping closer yet again. This time, the gestures were softer, the vulnerability palpable. "If Mia is mine, I want to help. I may not know the full story, but I would never turn my back on my child." Each word resonated like a drum, pulling her deeper into the morass of possibilities. Could they really explore this connection? Was it even worth the risk? As she grappled with the very real possibility of unraveling her carefully constructed reality, an authentic drive flickered to life. The truth, however painful, would hold the keys to her future. No matter the outcome, she needed to confront the past she thought she had buried. "Then let us figure this out," she said, determination rippling through her voice. "But understand this, Mia's well-being comes first. No harm will come to her. Not now, not ever." He nodded, finding a shared resolve that startled Jessica. The world outside the cafe continued to bustle, but for a moment, the two of them stood on an island of two, a world of uncertainties woven together by threads of hope. Would Lucas's involvement spark a chance for genuine connection or doom her to repeat history? As their conversation stabilized into an uneasy truce, a slow realization dawned on her. This might be the moment she had craved, her own reckoning and step into uncharted territory, as she unpicked the fear that ensnared her heart. But just then, a child's cry rang from outside, jolting Jessica into the present. She turned her gaze toward the window, her heart thudding anew, realizing this was only the beginning of the journey, a path laden with shadows and guiding lights. The real question loomed, ready to be faced head-on: how much of her past was she willing to unearth to protect Mia's future? Jessica blinked away the fear that threatened to swallow her whole. The bustling cafe now felt like a claustrophobic cell, walls closing in with each second she remained in Lucas's presence. He was a force of nature, commanding attention effortlessly, yet what struck her most was the depth of his gaze, a mixture of curiosity, apprehension, and undeniable connection. She didn't have time for nostalgia, but images flared in her mind as if her past was a canvas and she was its reluctant artist. She had built a life colored in shades of resilience, stitching together fragments of her youth into a coherent narrative. But now, Lucas's re-entry threatened to smear that picture, risking all she had fought to create. "Mia," she breathed, grounding herself in the one constant that kept her heart steady. How could she let the truth unfold without shattering the fragile world her daughter inhabited? The thought crumbled her resolve. After years of evasion, now the specter of her choices loomed, ready to weigh down on both her and Mia. I am not just going to hand her over if you turn out to be some sort of opportunist. Her voice regained its steadiness, reflecting the inner turmoil she could no longer afford to ignore. If you want to be part of Mia's life, I need to see you want this for her and not for yourself. Lucas drew in a breath, the tension between them intensifying. I won't back down on being involved in Mia's life if it turns out she is my daughter. I can provide for her in ways you can't even imagine. You need to trust that. A flicker of anger ignited inside Jessica. Trust? Hadn't she already handed over her trust once, only to have it decimated? Yet as she gazed at him, a sepulchral reminder of lost time mixed with rekindled possibilities taunted her. She considered his words, weighing them against her growing conviction that she was prepared to carve a shared future for Mia. Maybe you can provide, but she's thriving right now, with freedom and love I didn't have growing up. Her fists clenched involuntarily, the fiery protectiveness surfacing unbidden. That's what matters. For the first time, Lucas seemed taken aback. There was no answer, only a moment of introspection passing between them like a fleeting shadow. Then let us make plans, he replied finally, his voice softer, shifting as he stepped back slightly. How would you feel about meeting each other once a week? I'd like to talk to Mia, see if we can build something together as a family. A family. The word sent ripples through Jessica's consciousness. The dream had always been out of reach, yet now it dangled in front of her, tantalizing and dangerous. Jessica allowed the possibility to settle within her, crystallizing as she took another steady breath. 1 week. After that, we'll assess. But any sign of manipulation or insincerity, and this ends. For her sake. Lucas's relief was palpable, an expression crossing his features she hadn't anticipated. We'll start slowly then. He nodded. You'll be surprised at the lengths I'm willing to go to make this work. Her heart raced with a mixture of trepidation and caution. As the stakes grew, so too did the realization that she was stepping into a minefield where her past intertwined with an uncertain future. When did she last make a decision fueled by hope instead of fear? This felt different, charged with potential yet fraught with danger. She noticed how swiftly their roles were shifting, dauntingly from mere acquaintances to crucial players in each other's lives, and as she tore herself away from Lucas's penetrating gaze, she could almost sense the shift within her. She had a decision to make, one where she could embrace her vulnerability while strong enough to protect Mia, but doubt still lingered, swirling like clouds over a thunderstorm. Just as she gathered the courage to consider the next step, she caught a glimpse of another child framed in the window, a little girl with laughter spilling from her lips, a stark reminder of what happiness could look like. Can you really be the man you say you are? She whispered to herself. The question echoed in her mind, leaving a lingering uncertainty. The story was now unfolding, but the most profound chapters hadn't yet been written. With Lucas stepping into their lives, she knew the narrative would change irrevocably. Would she seize the chance to grow, or lose herself in a spiraling vortex of tangled emotions? An unrelenting urgency gnawed at her as she realized tomorrow loomed like an open door, swinging in the wind of her choices. Would she walk through it, stride confidently into a possible future, or close it behind her, retreating into the safety of the life she had constructed? With the sunlight filtering through the cafe window, illuminating the path ahead, she inhaled softly. Maybe this was the moment she had awaited, that challenging leap of faith. Only time would show if the jump would lead to soaring or crashing to the ground. Just then, a firm resolve forged within her. She would confront whatever came next, armed with the driving purpose of protecting her daughter at all costs. But the shadow of Lucas's return was more pronounced than ever, demanding her focus in unforeseen ways. How could he affect the life she had carved so tightly to her heart? A brewing storm whispered through her thoughts, ready to unleash its much-warranted chaos. The morning sun streamed through the window, illuminating Jessica's small apartment with a warmth that felt almost foreign in the wake of her encounter with Lucas. As she settled into the familiar rhythm of her life, the urgency of the day ahead tangled with a growing tumult inside her. Mia was still asleep, blissfully unaware of the tempest swirling just beyond her threshold. Jessica moved deliberately, preparing breakfast as if it could ground her restless thoughts. Each sizzle of the pan reminded her of the weight she now carried, the shadows of past and future merging into a daunting present. Could she navigate this complexity without losing everything she had built? The memories of her life before Mia surged unbidden, moments fraught with uncertainty and loneliness. Filled with urgency, she turned those feelings into a fierce love for her daughter, determined to offer the stability she had lacked. But now, as a specter from her past re-emerged, she questioned the very foundation of her resolve. Was her protective instinct strong enough to resist the shifts in their world? She took a deep breath as she plated the pancakes, faced with a dual challenge to maintain her commitment to her daughter while also allowing room for new possibilities. The thought of meeting Lucas again felt like standing on the precipice of a cliff, ready to leap but paralyzed by the fear of falling. As Mia padded into the kitchen, hair disheveled and eyes squinting against the brightness, all of Jessica's worries momentarily dissipated. Mia radiated innocence and curiosity, traits that had shaped every decision Jessica had ever made. "Mommy, can we go to the park today?" she asked, her voice still heavy with sleep. "Sure, sweetheart. Let us finish breakfast first," Jessica replied, forcing a smile. She watched Mia devour her meal, the way her little fingers gripped the fork with eagerness. In that moment, the weight of her choices bore down on her. Would allowing Lucas into their lives disrupt the safety she had carefully crafted for Mia? But how could she resist the chance for Mia to know her father, to possibly have a life enriched by newfound connections? After breakfast, Jessica found herself pacing, her mind racing with the implications of the upcoming meeting. The previous day's conversation replayed in her head like a loop, the look in Lucas's eyes, the vulnerability woven into his words. Trust would be the cornerstone, but how could she measure it? If she let him in and he failed again, would she be able to recover? In her bathroom mirror, Jessica practiced the expressions that would convey confidence, potential openness. She was still that resilient woman who had constructed a safe haven from the rubble of her past. With each choice, she had fortified her spirit. Yet now, faced with the reality of Lucas, she felt the urge to retreat, to shield herself and Mia. As she looked closely into her reflection, she unearthed a hidden strength. This wasn't simply about Lucas, it was also about asserting who she was, a mother grounded in love but unafraid to explore. She could choose to engage, to probe the depth of their connection while guarding her heart. With a newfound resolve, Jessica decided to confront the confusion. She would go to the park as planned and prepare for their meeting with clarity. The upcoming conversation would not be an erratic emotional thrust, it would be filled with purpose. She must align her core values. What did she want for Mia, and what role would she allow Lucas to play in that? As the day unfolded, anticipation began to ride alongside her, filling the cracks of anxiety. She was determined to maintain control of her narrative and to embrace the uncertainty without succumbing to panic. But a sudden thought hit her, slicing through her confidence. What if Lucas were everything he claimed to be and more? What if he could provide a family dynamic she had long denied herself and Mia? As she prepared to step out, the conflict sharpened. Could she really balance her fears with the potential of something greater? Standing at the door, she paused for a moment, realizing that, despite the unknowns, she was equipped with the capacity to navigate this juncture. Tomorrow's meeting could shift everything, either drawing Lucas closer or reinforcing her resolve to keep Mia safe from possible heartbreak. The moment was almost surreal as she grasped the doorknob. With a swift decision, she opened it, stepping into the sunlight, a symbol of clarity amidst uncertainty, but not before pausing to think, what happens if I find the courage to invite Lucas in? Thus, a question hung in the air, dripping with promise and peril. Little did she know, the encounter would unravel secrets bound tightly in the fabric of her past, a revelation that might define their future. Jessica watched as the sunlight broke through the trees in the park, casting pockets of warmth upon the ground. The cheerful laughter of children reverberated in the air, a backdrop that could have evoked joy, yet in her heart, uncertainty pulsed like an unyielding beat. She held Mia's hand, the delicate grip anchoring her in this moment, yet her mind flickered back to the weight of Lucas's re-emergence. Was she predestined to revisit the turmoil of her past? "Can we go to the swings, Mommy?" Mia's voice interrupted her thoughts, brimming with excitement as she tugged at her mother's shirt. "Sure, sweetheart," Jessica replied, forcing an easy smile. Each step felt monumental, every swing of her legs forcing her closer to the moment that loomed ahead. As Mia dashed ahead, Jessica's thoughts returned to Lucas. She felt a tight knot forming in her stomach. What if this encounter didn't turn out as she hoped? Would she set a precedent that could lead to heartache for Mia? Her resolve screamed for clarity. She needed to navigate without the storms of anxiety disrupting her path. Taking a moment, she sat on a nearby bench, watching Mia play. This was her safe zone. This park filled with the laughter of joyful families and unspoiled memories felt like a world crafted just for them. Yet she knew deep within that keeping Lucas at bay might also keep out potential joy. Her personal development felt like a pendulum, swinging between fear and hope. With each swing, new insights emerged. She remembered the way she had clawed her way out of darkness, becoming a mother who had fought for her daughter's happiness. It wasn't just about protecting Mia anymore, it was also about embracing the opportunities that lay ahead. A familiar voice cut through her thoughts as Lucas approached. His smile was tentative but genuine, shades of vulnerability peeking through his composed exterior. "Hey, Jessica," he said softly, as if afraid to disturb the serenity around them. "Lucas," she responded, her heart pounding. As they exchanged pleasantries, she felt the walls she had built begin to stir. "Thanks for meeting me here," he offered, his voice steady. "I know it's a lot to ask." With Mia occupied, Jessica decided she owed it to herself and her daughter to dive deeper into this conversation. "What do you want, Lucas?" "It's been years, and the stakes are different now." A flicker of determination ignited in Lucas's eyes. "I want to be here. I want to be part of Mia's life, and yours, if you'll let me." "I've changed." "Changed," she echoed. "How can I trust that?" Just as hope glimmered, doubt wrapped around it like a vice, his vulnerability tugged at her inner strength. Could this be an invitation to reevaluate trust, to allow for the ebb and flow of human relationships? The warmth of the sun suddenly felt stark against her raw uncertainty. "I know I can't change the past," he said, meeting her gaze. "But I want to try." Her pulse quickened. Here lay the crossroads. She could navigate through the anguish of remembrance while daring to embrace new experiences. This moment wasn't merely about Lucas, it was about her growth. Could she muster the strength to break through her protective shell? "Keep in mind," she began, her tone firm, "Mia is my priority. If you want in, you'd better be prepared to commit for real this time." Lucas nodded, sincerity flowing through his features. "I understand. I just want a chance." Jessica's heart fluttered, the juxtaposition of excitement and dread clawing fiercely within. Would she allow her precious daughter to dance with the uncertainties of new beginnings? Or would she chain herself to an unforgiving past? As the laughter of children enfolded them like a blanket, Jessica felt a transformational shift bloom within. "Let's talk, Lucas," she said, her voice wavering between trepidation and anticipation. "But I need to set some ground rules." However, before she could unpack the layers of her predicament, a sound nearby caught her attention, a woman's voice, ringing out with high emotion. Jessica turned, the sharp tone of disbelief piercing through the park. Serenity. "Is this my child?" The question lingered in the air, thickening the atmosphere with unspoken implications. As Jessica's heart raced, she felt the surreal weight of fate beckoning her to confront not only Lucas but also the very foundations of her life's choices. The shout hung heavily in the air, trapping Jessica in a freeze-frame of disbelief. Mia, oblivious to the chaos surrounding her, swung higher on the playground. Jessica's heart raced as her eyes darted toward the source of the voice, a tall woman with striking features, a lightning bolt of blonde hair framing a face marred by distress. "Excuse me?" Jessica called out, forcing her voice to be steady despite the storm brewing inside her. The woman moved closer, her brow furrowed with urgency. "That girl, is she yours?" There was a wild, desperate edge to her tone that sent chills down Jessica's spine. "Yes, she is," Jessica answered cautiously, keeping her gaze locked on the woman. A whirlwind of questions engulfed her thoughts. Who was this person? What right did she have to challenge her? "Are you sure?" The woman's eyes were wide, scanning Jessica's face for some sign of familiarity, some connection that might explain her concern. I mean, she looks just like him. A quiver of anger rose within Jessica, the mention of him infusing her with a bubble of protectiveness for Mia. What do you mean? Who are you? I can't just stand here and not ask, the woman insisted, her voice trembling. I think she might be my daughter. The word struck Jessica like ice water. Was this some kind of cruel joke? Her meticulous life, crafted from the ashes of despair and heartache, threatened to shatter before her very eyes. Each moment spent carefully building a world for Mia, a safe space, was now being attacked by a stranger with baseless accusations. Listen, I don't know who you are, but Mia is my child, and that's not up for debate. Clenching her fists, Jessica felt the warmth of maternal rage spilling through her like fire. You can't just blanket us with your claims without proof. Lucas stiffened beside her, his expression shifting from interest to concern as he took in the unfolding drama. Jessica, he said gently, maybe we should hear her out. Jessica glanced at Lucas, his words sparking a flicker of doubt. Could there be some truth to this? The hypothetical prince from her past watching her now in this mess felt intensely overwhelming. She swallowed, forcing herself to breathe deeply. What do you want? Jessica pressed, her tone sharp yet tentative, as she squared her shoulders. It was clear the woman was not backing down. My name is Sarah, the woman finally spoke, desperation seeping into her voice. I had a baby girl, a while back. I put her up for adoption. She paused, catching her breath, her eyes darting to Mia, joyfully unaware of the gravity of the moment. I'm just trying to find out if this is her. Jessica's mind surged with questions, anguish battling hope. Did Mia have another mother? Could this stranger offer some narrative Jessica had been too guarded to explore? But the protective walls she'd erected around Mia held firm. Tension surged, electric and urgent. And if she is? Jessica demanded, her heart pounding. What then? If she is my daughter, Sarah replied, suddenly resolute, I want to reconnect with her. You can't deny a mother that. The word mother struck like a hammer against the shield of identity Jessica had tightly woven around her, an identity built on sacrifice, resilience, and deep love. A sense of professionalism surged through her as she demanded clarity. What did it mean to be a mother? Was it a shared genetic trait, or was it forged through experience and unconditional love? Lucas stepped closer, quietly assessing the situation. This needs to be handled delicately, he murmured, not quite ready to commit to either party. Jessica felt an urge to turn her back on him. His presence, once a source of strength, began to feel like a reminder of unresolved issues. Mia continued to swing higher and higher, her laughter drowning out the overwhelming tension amongst adults. Jessica watched her daughter, resolutely deciding that no matter how this unfolded, her loyalty belonged with Mia. Let's talk somewhere private, Jessica finally said, cutting through the tension. But I want you to understand nothing can overshadow the bond, Mia. And I share. The stakes were raised as Jessica stepped forward, ready to confront the emotional hurricane that awaited her. She felt something primal awaken within, urging her to establish her role in this unfolding story. Yet, as they moved away from the playground, the air thick with uncertainty, another ominous thought crept in. Would digging deeper really solidify her relationship with Mia, or would it unearth hidden truths she wasn't ready to face? The burgeoning shadows of the past loomed large, and in the blink of an eye, she could feel the tangled web of her life growing infinitely more complex. Was she ready to unravel it all? The very answer to that question threatened to tip the balance of her life forever. As Jessica led Sarah away from the playground, she felt the ground shifting beneath her. Each step was laden with doubt, intertwining with an urgent need to protect Mia at all costs. The bright essence of childhood was still present in the laughter ringing out from the swings, but it felt increasingly distant, like the fading end of a once vibrant song. Where do you suggest we go? Sarah's voice was measured, but the tremor that accompanied her question revealed a torrent of unresolved emotional chaos. Jessica scanned the area, wanting distance from curious eyes. "Let us sit at that bench over there," she said, motioning towards a secluded spot tucked behind a thicket of blooming azaleas. She felt a protective urge to guard Mia from whatever storm was brewing. As they settled onto the weathered wood of the bench, Jessica fought to compose herself, grappling with the role of the maternal guardian. "How do you know she could be yours?" she asked, every word shaped by the tightening knot in her stomach. "A birthmark," Sarah said, her gaze flickering between Jessica and the innocent joy of Mia. "She has a small heart-shaped mark on her ankle. I kept a photo of my baby, it has the same mark." Jessica felt the walls around her emotions shudder as memories of regret flooded her mind. Adoptive statistics had always been stark, finding birth parents was often an uphill battle. Here was Sarah, a mirror reflecting a path Jessica had avoided exploring. Was Mia's existence a matter of chance, or was there something larger at play? "I don't want to believe you," Jessica admitted in a rare moment of vulnerability, the honesty laced with anger. "I've spent every waking moment building a life for her. If you were her mother, why weren't you there for her?" The question hung between them, heavy with accusations. Sarah remained silent, her eyes shimmering with a mix of sorrow and defiance. "Some moments in life lead us to make choices that we later regret. I made one," Sarah confessed, her voice softening as she looked towards Mia. "It was the hardest decision I've ever made to give her a chance at a better life. But when I saw her today, it took me back." Jessica felt a crack form in the sturdy facade she had built. The weight of guilt and sisterly grief pressed against the walls of her heart. "So, you've been looking for her?" "Yes. It wasn't easy, but I hoped I'd find her." A wave of unease washed over Jessica. This was the moment she feared, the thin edge of betrayal that magnified her insecurities. Did she harbor an imagined threat, or was there a genuine fear of losing what felt painfully fragile? "Is it worth it to open this can of worms?" she thought, her professional mindset grappling with an emotional reality she had never fully faced. The truth, in its raw form, could dismantle the life she had created. "Listen," Sarah said, her tone now firm, "if she is mine, I don't want to take her away from you. I just want her to know her heritage, where she comes from." "Heritage?" Jessica echoed, the term sparking an internal fight. "She comes from me. I've created every moment, every memory." The air grew tense as Jessica stared into Sarah's eyes, searching for signs of malice, but she saw instead a familiar pain. "What would it make me if I simply walked away? Am I ready to fight for my past? Or should I forge a truce?" Mia's laughter suddenly sliced through the air, illuminating the seriousness that had darkened their conversation. In that moment, Jessica realized that her greatest mission wasn't merely to defend her role as a mother but also to understand what motherhood truly meant. "Can I trust you?" Jessica finally asked, her voice low but firm. It was not just a plea, it was a challenge. "I hope you can," Sarah replied, a wistful expression reflecting through her turmoil. The conversation hung between them like a pendulum, oscillating between hope and despair, uncertainty and resolution. Whatever lay ahead was bound to alter everything. Jessica's mind raced with possibilities, each turn presenting another layer to the intricate puzzle. In that moment, she had to make a decision, one that would not only define her future but also shape the kind of mother she aspired to be. What did it mean when two paths collided, both full of disparate truths? As she looked down at Mia, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around her, a new fear blossomed inside Jessica. Were her defenses enough to withstand the truth? Or would she discover something she never knew she was so desperate to find? As the weight of her decision settled upon her, a chilling thought crystallized. When searching for clarity, sometimes the path reveals more than one was ever prepared to face. The pivotal choice loomed ahead, and Jessica realized, for the first time, that she might need more than just love to overcome the tides of fate. Would she have the courage to unearth the truths that lay beneath? Jessica sat in silence, the vibrant sounds of the playground now dulled as they washed over her like a distant echo. She felt the emotional weight of the past pressing heavily on her chest, each thought a reminder of the life she had curated so meticulously. The facade of confidence she had built felt thin and brittle, and facing Sarah meant exposing that vulnerability. Questions churned like an unsettled ocean in her mind. Mia's laughter abruptly cut through her turmoil, momentarily anchoring her in the present. She could see the purity of childhood radiating from her daughter, that innocent glow illuminating the world as if it were only meant for them. The stark contrast to the emotional maelstrom swirling just a few feet away was disorienting. Could she reconcile this innocence with the potential truth that was about to reshape everything? Turning to Sarah, Jessica noted the tension stitched into the woman's brow and the faint tremor of her hands. This was a mother, albeit one who had made choices that left scars, a journey marked not only by regret but also by determination. Yet, how could she trust someone who had chosen to walk away? "You say you want her to know her heritage," Jessica stated, her voice steady despite the turmoil beneath. "But can you genuinely be trusted? Just like that?" Sarah's gaze dropped, a flicker of shame crossing her features. "I know it sounds naive. But like I said, when I saw her today, it awakened something in me that I thought was buried." Jessica leaned back, her mind racing to construct a framework in which she could operate. The instinct to defend Mia grew stronger by the moment, yet she battled with a compelling urge to listen. Could she afford to be open? Could there be a path that didn't just lead to conflict? A sudden thought pierced through the fog. If I shut Sarah out completely, what does that teach Mia about love and acceptance? It was a question that echoed, deeper and sharper than any before. Jessica had always prided herself on being an advocate for understanding and resilience, yet here she was, teetering on the edge of a decision that contradicted every principle she held dear. Perhaps I can approach this differently, she thought, her heart pounding more fiercely with the prospect of change than with fear. Mia, oblivious to the weighty conversation underscoring her play, called out, "Mommy, look." She presented a wildflower she had proudly picked, one reminiscent of the bright blooms in the azaleas beside them. Jessica's heart stuttered. Everything she had given to Mia, every sacrifice and sleepless night, came rushing back in vivid clarity, a declaration of love and devotion. "Sarah," she said, surprising even herself with her resolve, "let's approach this together. We owe it to Mia to explore this path rather than fight it." The words tasted liberating on her tongue, bidding farewell to a self-imposed isolation that had governed her decisions. Sarah's eyes widened with disbelief, and for the first time, Jessica witnessed a glimmer of hope in the woman's expression. "You mean that? You're willing to let me be a part of her life?" With her back straight and resolve crystallizing, Jessica nodded. "But we need rules, boundaries. I won't lose her. I refuse to let that happen." Sarah struggled to contain her own emotions. "I want the best for her. I've missed so much, but I want to be a piece of her puzzle, not a threat." Jessica knew this was only the beginning. The complex interplay of trust and vulnerability lay before them, an intricate dance of potential alliances that hinged not just on motherly instinct but on the willingness to confront their deepest fears. Feeling the weight of possibility and the unknown, Jessica resolved to take the first step forward, but this was just the opening act. The discussions ahead would shape not only Mia's future but also her own understanding of motherhood. As Sarah tentatively reached for her hand, Jessica gathered herself in preparation for everything that was sure to follow. She could already sense that the wind of change was upon them, laden with both possibility and risk, and just as she braced for the next wave, a new tension rippled through her. What if unknown truths lay waiting, ready to surface and shatter the fragile harmony they were trying to build? How far was she willing to go to protect Mia and herself from those revelations? The real question loomed large. Could she fight to keep what was hers while embracing a complicated new reality? Would she discover the strength to adapt, or would these new truths redefine everything she thought she knew? The air grew thick with uncertainty as Jessica and Sarah held hands, drawing on a fragile connection founded on shared purpose. The laughter of children became a backdrop to their intense focus, a world of color amidst the uncertainty of their next steps. Each minute felt like an eternity as Jessica wrestled with the implications of their pact. She realized that the journey ahead would be fraught with complexity and potential heartbreak. Boundaries, they had established, but those walls could easily become cages. Jessica had always been resolute in her belief that motherhood meant creating a secure environment for Mia. However, was she also capable of learning to bend, to adapt her own views for her daughter's sake? Mia's gleeful shrieks resonated with clarity, pulling Brian's attention toward the swings. Even in that innocent joy, Jessica saw reflections of her own childhood memories, filled with laughter and unblemished happiness. Yet, like all childhoods, they were tinged with a bittersweet understanding that shadows loomed large in adulthood. As much as she wished to shield her daughter from any pain, Jessica knew she couldn't cultivate a fear of facing uncertainties. "Sarah," she found herself saying, "we need to have honest conversations about Mia's questions. She's a smart kid. She'll wonder about her family heritage, and I'd rather we tackle that together than let her navigate it alone." Steeling herself for the inevitable emotional tumult, Jessica planned. This was the moment to embrace the open dialogue they both feared but needed. What would Mia want? She pondered. The answer arose vividly: honesty. Without it, the journey would be riddled with unspoken grievances and potential bitterness. Sarah nodded, clearly grappling with her own determination to lead with integrity. "You're right. I owe her that, and I owe it to you. But," Jessica continued, "this involves faith. You will have to demonstrate that you're committed. This isn't just about being a biological mother, you need to be a stabilizing presence for Mia." The words felt heavy, but they carried Jessica's resolve, her own determination anchored in wanting the best for her daughter. As they engaged in this unexpected collaboration, Jessica felt herself evolving within the roles of teacher and learner. This newfound partnership, however fragile, beckoned her to explore emotions she had long since buried. Past resentments threatened to resurface, yet she held firm, determined to not let those feelings sabotage this opportunity for growth for both of them. With each meeting, weekly commitments took shape. Plans for picnics, playdates, and quiet evenings at home began to fill her calendar alongside work projects. It was a slow integration, like layering paint on a canvas that had required careful thought before any brush touched it. Previously, Jessica would never have allowed so many variables into Mia's life. Yet, now, she was giving herself permission to expand her view of family, redefining what it could look like without diluting her protective instincts. Still, uncertainty lingered. Each time Jessica shared her parenting strategies with Sarah or allowed her to spend time with Mia, a shadow of doubt crept back in. Could she really trust Sarah? Would there always be a distance created by the past? Jessica calculated the risks, yet countered them with the vision of a united front, confident in the strength they were forging. However, the stress of piecing together a comprehensive narrative about Mia's legacy remained a burden they both shared. And in quiet moments, Jessica wondered if hidden truths still lay beneath the surface, waiting patiently for their inevitable revelation. One afternoon, while cleaning her cluttered desk at home, she found a stack of letters, unopened correspondence from Sarah. Each envelope bore the weight of assumed destinies, promises lingering on the edge of completion. As she tore into one, anticipation mixed with lingering dread. Inside was a glimpse into Sarah's past, an explanation of her choices, a plea for connection. A note suggested ways she hoped to contribute, a legacy for Mia built on shared memories rather than separation. With every new insight Jessica uncovered, the question grew louder in her mind: more than a new beginning, would this relationship expose cracks she'd rather not navigate? Her determination intensified as she resolved to explore further, driven by both fear and hope. What lay ahead in the labyrinth of their lives was uncertain, yet Jessica recognized one undeniable truth: embracing these layers would challenge her resilience and force her to redefine her role within her own narrative. With every decision, she drew closer to an impending confrontation, where the past may well collide with their future in ways she never envisioned. Her thoughts raced and spiraled, restlessness settling into her bones. How would she confront Sarah with everything she held back? A decision loomed on the horizon. Would she navigate this treacherous terrain head-on or draw back into her safe but restrictive shell? It was a question demanding resolution. The pieces of her life hung in precarious balance, awaiting a shift that would push them toward clarity or chaos. The sunlight poured through Jessica's window, illuminating the little apartment that held so many memories. Today, it felt different, charged with a sense of profound purpose. Jessica stood in silence, absorbing the peaceful moment with Mia, who busied herself with crayons and paper scattered across the living room floor. Each stroke of color represented the innocence she fought relentlessly to protect. Yet now, that fragile shield was wavering like a flickering flame. The past whispered incessantly. Could she trust Sarah? With each passing day, as they navigated this new arrangement, Jessica discovered traces of strength and self-confidence she had long forgotten. The revelation hit her during one of their weekly meetings. Sarah wasn't a threat, but a mirror reflecting her own fears and uncertainties. They spoke of the past, their truths intertwining like vines, forming a fragile bond that could either flourish or falter. Each conversation revealed their stakes. Jessica's deep maternal instinct tangled with Sarah's longing for redemption. That evening, as Jessica tucked Mia into bed, she noticed her daughter's peaceful face, a canvas of dreams. "Mommy, can we draw again tomorrow?" Mia's innocent curiosity tugged at her heart. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, a warmth flooding her spirit. In that moment, clarity enveloped Jessica. She realized it was time to embrace the vulnerability faced in every new encounter. A healthy family dynamic needed honesty and trust, but also forgiveness for past mistakes. The following week, Jessica invited Sarah for a casual dinner, a platform for discussion and openness. The table was set beautifully, a small act of acknowledgement for the complexity they shared. As Sarah arrived, tentatively crossing the threshold, Jessica's heart raced, the air hummed with the weight of unspoken truths. The dinner unfolded with careful deliberation. Jessica focused on grounding the conversation, intent on not letting defensiveness dictate their exchange. "Let us talk about what it means to be a mother," she began, her voice steady and serious. "What were your hopes for Mia? What do you want her to have?" Sarah inhaled deeply, her eyes glistening with sincerity. "I want her to feel loved, to know her roots, to see the best of both worlds," she answered, each word a brick laid towards building their foundation. Jessica nodded, the tension easing as they navigated through shared stories, fears, aspirations, and regret. The connection grew stronger, cementing what had started as a fragile alliance into something more profound. In that moment, she realized her growth. This wasn't just about Mia's future, it was about her own journey toward acceptance and reconciliation. "I need you to understand that there will always be boundaries," Jessica stated firmly, but with a tone of collaboration. "I want Mia to know both of her mothers, but you must respect what we've built together." Sarah's expression shifted, a mix of gratitude and understanding washing over her. "I promise, Jessica. I just want a chance to be part of her life. I will do everything to support what you've already given her." As they concluded that night with earnest intentions, Jessica felt something monumental shift within her. The fear that had hovered like a storm cloud began to dissipate. No longer did she hear the whispers of doubt, instead, she discovered resilience blossoming inside her. Weeks turned into months, and as seasons changed, so did their roles. Sarah became a gentle presence in Mia's life, attending school events, cheering from the sidelines, blending with Jessica's world seamlessly. Mia thrived, her laughter ringing louder than ever, enriched by the love from two mothers who overcome fears and insecurities. One evening, while sitting together in the park, basking in the golden glow of sunset, Jessica turned to Sarah. "I can't believe how far we've come," she admitted, a proud smile spreading across her face. "You've inspired me to redefine what family can be." "Thank you for opening that door," Sarah replied, a tear shimmering down her cheek. "You've shown me that love is not a competition but a beautiful collaboration." Amidst the laughter and joy of Mia playing just steps away, a sense of harmony enveloped them, and Jessica felt an immense weight lift from her shoulders. She had transformed, emerging from her cocoon of fear into a woman grounded in confidence and strength, fully capable of embracing life's complexities. There was no longer an echo of past mistakes, instead, validity in the existence she had created, not just for Mia, but for herself as well. Jessica had learned to conquer the challenges of her past, proving that vulnerability can lead to profound personal growth. She looked at Mia, running toward them, joy embodied, and she knew she had become the warrior mother she had wanted to be. Today marked a triumph, the culmination of her journey, where she stood not just as Mia's protector but as a mother unafraid to evolve. As they departed from the park, hand in hand, Jessica realized this was more than a fresh beginning, it was a pathway to a brighter future, illuminated with love, understanding, and the undeniable strength of personal transformation. And now, dear audience, recognize the resolve of overcoming personal struggles. Support the power of these emotional stories. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, ensuring these narratives reach those in need of inspiration. Comment your reactions and theories about this transformative tale. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. This community embraces growth, resilience, and the beauty of human connection.